Hello everyone and welcome to SUGTalks. I'm Craig Dale, your host, and together with our special guest we'll take a deep dive into the topics, challenges and opportunities facing SAP users today. Please make sure you do follow our podcast so you never miss any of our future episodes. I'm delighted to be joined today by Hagen, Jander, Vice President, Product Management of Business Data Cloud at SAP. So welcome Hagen.
Thank you for having me, Craig.
It's great to have you. And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing SAP Business Data Cloud. And just before we get into that, Hagen, I'd just like to ask you if you used AI to automate your daily routine, what task would you never give up doing yourself?
That's a tough one, honestly.
Well, while you're thinking about that, I pondered this myself when it came to me, and I'm like, well, what would there be automation that would kind of help us exercise without having to exercise? So I thought the first thing that came in my daily routine that I would always want to continue, and that's, I think, getting outside for my morning steps, getting outside in the fresh air and exercising. That'd be for me. Most of the things, maybe making a cup of tea, so I always get it the way I want it.
Exactly. This also was something that just came to my mind. You know, I have a typical daily routine of spending the morning either with a run outside or spending the morning in the gym. Also this morning, just went to the gym. And this is definitely something that is, in parts, it can be painful, but at the same time, it's very rewarding. So even if AI provided me with the opportunity to get rid of this and still have my health stay stable, I think I wouldn't really want to do this, honestly.
So we're still keeping those happy chemicals floating around that exercise gives us. Fantastic. Well, just to start things off then, could you give us a little bit of background on yourself and your role at SAP?
Sure, very happy to. So, at SAP, you already heard it from the title, responsible for product management for a certain part of product management of Business Data Cloud, and we will come to this in a second. Actually, throughout my career, had always been pretty focused on data and analytics overall in various roles, like, for example, solution architecture, consulting, and joined SAP for the second time in 2020, looking after what we would traditionally call the data warehouse portfolio. And what we understand by data warehouse portfolio is their product management responsibility for the classical SAP BW, SAP Business Warehouse, respectively BW for HANA, SAP DataSphere, and SAP Customer Data Platform, so CDP. And this obviously, and I think we will come to this then also later as part of this podcast, is a big part and foundation of the further evolution and expansion into Business Data Cloud. And product management means, just for completeness, right? Residing in product and engineering board area, being part of the engineering, respectively, product team, and as such, together with the team, collaborating to basically define the product strategy, create the roadmap, make sure that we invest according to what we also see as biggest opportunities and value levers and in line with customer feedback, and then also very intimately working together with high-profile customers and looking after that everything runs smoothly, basically.
Oh, thank you. So your second time you mentioned there at SAP, so you have had two stints but returned home.
Yes, exactly. I think it was a great opportunity, honestly. And when I got to know the information and call basically and question if I'd be interested in considering joining, and learned about SAP's vision in terms of data and analytics in the public cloud, I was convinced that this is definitely a super interesting field to engage and to learn and basically dedicate myself to.
Oh, fantastic.
And so far it has worked out very well.
It's good to hear. That's good to hear. So back to the main subject then, because SAP announced Business Data Cloud earlier this year. Would you be able to give us a recap of what Business Data Cloud actually is for our listeners, please.
Yeah, it's broad, so it's a bit tough to basically explain it really briefly in a nutshell. But let me maybe start with explaining the key customer challenge that we also seek to address. If you take a look at a typical customer landscape that we see in many of the instances today, and most likely you will also see a similar situation for yourself, those customers with whom I interact oftentimes have a large SAP estate, and then also are basically, it's clear for them that SAP systems and the data that resides in SAP systems provides a ton of value for them. And at the same time, they also have various different other systems, really a heterogeneous landscape across which data is spread. And when it now comes to getting a consistent view at this data estate and also powering scenarios, be it next generation applications, be it analytic scenarios, be it AI, or then even moving into the world of agentic, bringing together all this data into a consistent harmonized view with also ideally the business context, so the meaning and semantics intact, is a challenge, right? And this, even becomes now more interesting, while this has been for sure a consistent challenge over the past years, when we look at what is possible in the world of AI and agentic. And what we really seek to enable ultimately with Business Data Cloud is, and if you watched any of the recent announcements or keynotes or participated in Sapphire, you would have seen this, is the so-called flywheel of data. Yeah? So we have data, we have ultimately data spread across various systems that we need to harmonize. We have then also the Business Data Cloud as the component that provides this harmonized access across data, one semantic layer with data products included. And we have on top of this business AI that in the end helps to run all sorts of different agents, agentic use cases, and other AI use cases on top. So this is really the foundation to achieve this. And now coming, and apologies for the lengthy elaboration to what Business Data Cloud really is. Business Data Cloud is a product that we launched in February this year, and it's a software as a service product that's ultimately a fully managed software as a service solution that we provide with the objective to unify and govern all SAP data, including also preserving this context in data products, to also allow, as we talked about the heterogeneity of data, to seamlessly connect also third-party data into this, and to ultimately then power applications and power AI scenarios on top of this. So we have features like, and we can deep dive on this in a second, right? SAP managed data products. We have intelligent applications as part of this. We have the ability to also move the SAP Business Warehouse or BW estate into this to connect with new scenarios like machine learning and data engineering scenarios with a very seamless interoperability with Databricks as part of this, and then also running the AI scenarios on top.
So thank you. And you mentioned there, obviously, the challenges customers have bringing data together and how Business Data Cloud can help harmonize access to that data. And as we know, organizations seem to struggle with siloed data across SAP, non-SAP systems. So how does SAP Data Cloud help harmonize that access specifically, and perhaps what makes it different from data lakes and warehouses?
Yeah, very good question. It's really a very strong part of the value proposition of Business Data Cloud, ultimately to provide out-of-the-box access to so-called SAP managed data products. And what this means is that unlike traditionally, where you would see now data residing in multiple tables in the source systems being accessible from all kinds of different interfaces, and in the end, this then also requiring you as a customer to undertake enormous efforts and investments into basically getting access to this data, harmonizing this data, bringing this data into a consistent model. SAP Managed Data Products means that we as SAP invest to provide this out of the box. So what it would typically mean is that We treat data as a product really, which means that you have an entity. Think about, I have a customer, and the customer is a data product, right? As an example, that already provides not only the data itself, but also the metadata and semantics around it to make sure that there's a consistent understanding in basically the harmonized data model. And we would, in the SAP Managed Data products, provide various layers in which we then also ultimately curate and refine the data. So you would start in a kind of a bronze layer, silver layer, and gold layer in this typical medallion architecture, where we even drive then the integrated and harmonized data products across multiple source systems on top. If you think, for example, about a scenario where you would like to get better insights into spend, or you would like to basically drive a spend optimization, you might find data spread across an Ariba, a Concur, and a field glass, right? And in order to get a consistent view on top of this, you would like to basically get this together. Now, with SAP Business Data Cloud, we are investing into those SAP Managed Data products and also consequentially intelligent applications that sit on top of this, that enable exactly such use cases and provide them out of the box. What does SAP Managed mean in this context? It also means that it's not only a very seamless and straightforward installation experience where I can just browse a scenario, I can basically install it, but we also take care of the entire operations throughout the life cycle. So meaning data is consistently being loaded in the cloud environment. We take care of observing the pipelines, of fixing anything if there's any glitch coming up, so that really the operations is also taken care of. Now, what's for sure the next question that will follow directly after, considering that many of the landscapes are super heterogeneous, is how do I get my other data in, right? Which is not SAP data and which is not SAP managed ultimately. And this is then enabled by customer managed data products that can also be combined, respectively extended and then matched up with SAP data products, so that you can basically combine SAP and non-SAP data in this one consistent environment. And if we compare this, right, to traditional data lakehouse, data warehouses, we would see this as one of the key differences and value propositions for sure, with this very close anchoring to the SAP world and powering of the intelligent applications on top.
Thank you. And you mentioned the customer managed data, so data that's stored non-SAP systems, and you referred to kind of third-party data earlier. So what value can customers glean, I suppose, from connecting their third-party data to the Business Data Cloud?
Yeah. I would say there are two dimensions that we need to take a look at here. One is, and we have also in the recent years really invested in a lot of openness. So if you are a BW customer, BW customers would have told me this provides a ton of value, but at the same time we know that while it's very strong in the SAP integration, we have a hard time getting non-SAP data into this BW, and throughout the recent years and also now included in Business Data Cloud, we have a rich connectivity basically and openness to integrate all sorts of different source systems, which is the one dimension, which is if I want to really gain the entire 360 overview, if I wanna drive use cases that span across data that resides in multiple locations, then for sure I need to integrate this also in this harmonized semantic layer that we spoke about earlier, and this will just provide me with the potential to do so and also unlock the respective value. If you think about heterogeneous landscapes, a best of breed landscape where maybe you don't have everything from SAP as most customers have, but also non-SAP data, and this should be brought together. The second dimension is, which also would be is also pretty interesting. If you think about additional scenarios and use cases that can be unlocked by including external data products. So really think along the lines of weather data, benchmarking data, what have you, right? This is then in the end a potential to unlock completely new scenarios and use cases. If you think along the lines, I want to now benchmark in HR my spends and layers or my salary levels or whatsoever against what I have in my organization, which is enabled also by the data marketplace as part of Business Data Cloud.
Thanks. And we heard quite a bit about the announcement around Databricks. And where does Databricks fit in?
Yeah, excellent question. So, what we so far had really put a lot of emphasis on, in terms of also the persona that we address and the user experience that we create, is basically business and IT, but oftentimes also like a data-savvy business user, kind of, whom we would typically address with very easy means to get an understanding of their data, to be able to also discover models, but apply certain changes to models themselves, and as such then unlock new abilities in the area of self-service for those business users. We recognize that there's a large user base and persona base more focused on the data engineering world and on the AI world, and that there are also many organizations out which just have adopted, next to an SAP stack, Databricks, for which ideally they would like to drive a very close interoperability. And we are very, very happy that we were able to expand the partnership that we had already initially coined as part of the open data ecosystem collaboration with Databricks, really into the partnership that we have now together with Business Data Cloud, which is in the end around 3 different dimensions. One dimension is the commercial dimension. It's an opportunity for customers that have Business Data Cloud to also spend their respective capacity units, which is like the currency via which you can then spin up certain services as you like, for Databricks, and to basically consume Databricks services directly as part of Business Data Cloud. The second is we invested in a very seamless technical integration that's also state-of-the-art. So we are basically sharing access to the data products via zero-copy data sharing with Databricks and also back, so that you can drive a close interoperability via data products, as we said earlier. So not table level, but in the end via the data products. And the third is we made sure also with the mutual investment from both products and engineering teams that this is a very seamless user experience ultimately, where I can start off, for example, in the Business Data Cloud cockpit, I can select which data products I want to share out. And I also drive, for example, a catalog-to-catalog integration, where I'm then able, as part of Databricks in the Unity catalog, to directly identify those data products and basically continue my workflow from there, so that we have a very strong interoperability and a seamless workflow and user experience on top of this.
Thank you. And you mentioned zero-copy data sharing. What is that? What does that look like?
Yeah, in the end, it's the big question is, if we go back to where we started off initially with the situation that data is really spread across multiple sources and oftentimes also copied and then held in multiple locations in multiple versions. This is a paradigm that's not really state of the art, right? But ultimately, the question is, how can we bring the compute to the data and not vice versa, and not store the data multiple times. And the zero copy data share is really about this. So in the end, using the data sharing standard, that also is then in a responsibility respectively driven by Databricks, with certain enhancements that we also jointly undertake to allow this integration of data products via the zero copy sharing.
Thank you.
We know our community, but we don't know yours yet. Why not share the benefits of your UKI Sub membership with those who don't know about us? The UKI Sub referral scheme rewards you for helping to grow and develop our community. You can check out the link in the description to find out more about how you can get involved. Terms and conditions apply. We hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
And just going back on a number of things that we've touched on here, because it seems to me in this conversation, many conversations I have, that it's all about the data, and I guess that's why you went back to SAP, because it is all about the data and the future and how you best leverage it. And you mentioned treating data as a product. And one of the things I heard a number of times out at Sapphire was the data product economy. What's that?
Yeah, this is a good question, and ultimately, sometimes these terms get ahead of yourself, right? If you are coining this, what is about data product? I already briefly mentioned, right? So really, this idea of let's treat data as a product. Let's make sure that we handle it with all the qualities like a data product, and ultimately the economy part adds the notion to it that this is nothing that we envision and do to drive an isolation by SAP, but what we, with, for example, Databricks, also open up, and with other partners that also then act as sharers or consumers of data products ultimately to drive an economy around it, to get rid of this paradigm of we have tables that we copy and the context and semantics and semantical information is lost, and we rather embark into this coining data products and data product sharing also as a standard, and ultimately driving some sort of an economy and ecosystem on top of this.
Okay. And what would be the benefit to an SAP customer saying, I suppose, being part of this economy or treating its data as a product?
Ultimately, the question is, if you are bought into this concept of SAP managed data products with also the benefits that it provides, that we elaborated earlier, right? Out of a customer's mind, this should for sure not stop at the boundaries of an SAP system. But ultimately, the value that I want to get out of this is if I can have the access to data products that are clearly described, that are versioned, that are maintained, that are managed over time, and I run, for example, Databricks, to just get back to this specific scenario, I'd be for sure interested in also being able then to browse the available data products and to get access at the level of data products, including also the management throughout the entire life cycle. This is really what it's about.
Oh, thank you very much for that. And just back into the Business Data Cloud, and you've been talking about harmonizing data, and also, I understand that the Business Data Cloud set up to preserve the business, I suppose, context across systems. And can you explain what that means in practice and why it matters for users?
Yeah. So if you take a look, and there we need to go a bit more into the weeds of how data resides in SAP systems, and this is also very different depending on which different application you look at, right? If you compare like a traditional way of accessing the data and rebuilding it versus context, what you need to consider and think about is what really is required in terms of the metadata and understanding what the data means in order to accurately process it. And this is something which we have heavily invested into, and which we also bring further forward here as part of Business Data Cloud. To start very simple, think along the lines of I have descriptions in a table that are technical field names versus that are human readable descriptions and human readable semantics that I can read on top. Then let's go on and cover simple scenarios such as I have a hierarchy, and I know that I can have pretty complex hierarchies, and that hierarchy handling is nothing that is super simple, right? So how do I bring forward those hierarchies? How do I understand what certain fields mean? So I have, for example, maybe financial data that's stored in various currencies, and I need to understand this currency information to also be able then to harmonize it at the level of currencies and treat it correspondingly. And then it can be more complex, right? So to, for example, take a look at a more complex scenario, this would be this typical handling of inventory data, which is a big thing. thing. If I wanna now have a valuation of my inventory stock that I have various business rules and logics that could apply here, and I really need to be aware of what is now a first in, first out, last in, first out, whatsoever valuation that I would like to apply on top of this. And at a high level, preserving the context and preserving the semantics is about this, right? So let's bring forward the descriptions, and let's also bring forward the semantical understanding that we have, of course, always then requiring that you also have an endpoint or an engine, or however we want to frame this, that's able to make sense of this and then able to process it accordingly.
Thank you. So if a customer's got an existing, let's say, a BW landscape, how does Business Data Cloud handle integration with that?
Yeah, excellent question. So this is also one of the topics that, while explaining it in the beginning, I just very briefly mentioned, and it's as a matter of fact maybe not even doing it justice, because BW is really a big part of this, and this is also top of mind for many customers with whom I interact these days. SAP BW is part of Business Data Cloud. So if you transfer your SAP BW under RISE, right, you can make it part of Business Data Cloud. Also, and pretty similar from the dimensions to what I explained earlier with regards to Databricks, with a close integration at the level of commercial integration, of the technical integration, and also of the user experience integration. Commercially, it means you can, as a customer, you're no longer at the crossroads with the need to decide between, do I now invest in BW or do I opt into the public cloud track with DataSphere, respectively Business Data Cloud. But Business Data Cloud really encompasses BW and also then allows to, under one contract with the flexibility to allocate your respective capacity units, spin up BW services, and as such also run your BW and bring that forward in a traditional lift and shift first, and then driving the modernization, respectively then also the implementation of new scenarios and use cases on top of this. When we discuss the technical integration that we drive, we have made sure that also the valuable data that resides in BW is made available as data products and to downstream consumers. So there is a feature that we currently are finalizing in the development, which is the so-called data product generator, where out of an BW, I can select info providers, and as such, I can basically tap into everything that has been developed at the customer side and that has went as massive investment into BW, and expose this as data products and consequentially use it in the stack to build applications on top, to drive AI scenarios, or to, for example, share it with Databricks and make it available here, which is a huge benefit, right? And then equally so also again from the user experience integration, this is a seamless thing that's integrated as part of the Business Data Cloud cockpit, where you can also trigger the corresponding workflows and have this then really combined together.
Thank you. And if I may, I'd like to kind of drop into artificial intelligence. Touched on it earlier, talking about AI agents, etc. And obviously SAP's been talking a lot about business AI, and obviously I suppose artificial intelligence is only as good as the data it's built on. And we've heard about business AI and SAP Joule, major innovations in SAP. So how does Business Data Cloud support these? And I suppose what's the connection between high quality contextualized data and AI outputs in the SAP ecosystem?
No, excellent question. It's exactly, and you have halfway answered it already, right? it's exactly as you would envision. First of all, this high quality contextualized data is really the prerequisite to also power AI scenarios, and as such, we are very happy to drive also the integration with Joule for ultimately analytical scenarios, and with Business AI that we are currently driving to make sure that the data products are then really also the foundation to consume this and power those scenarios. And this is for sure one of the key dimensions. What also belongs to this is how we bring the respective technology and also structures in place that are required to successfully use AI and also Gen AI in an enterprise context. So if you think, for example, about the fact that much of the information that would reside in a traditional business application is structured, and that you for sure would like to avoid AI hallucinations. Yeah, there are technologies that allow that. Yeah, for example, knowledge graph technology, where we also have heavily invested and have the knowledge graph as part of Business Data Cloud. Yeah, ultimately, that provides exactly this foundation in order to drive those scenarios. Second dimension is, and this is then really beyond having the foundation for AI scenarios, is the question, how do we make AI part of BDC in order to also enhance the user experience, and drive additional levels, for example, of ease of use, of, for example, increasing productivity and the likes. And there we also are in constant evolution. But for example, Joule as part of Business Data Cloud, that you can type in and find things and trigger processes, is an important part. We have, for example, a search that is just a natural language search, where you can type in anything and you don't need to click through various filters and follow these complex processes in order to get to what you wanna look at. Or if you think, for example, about cataloging and the fact that in catalog you would then like to have a description, as an example, also related to the non-SAP sources potentially that you include. This is also something where we have an AI-enabled generation, which can, just based on the metadata that we have, also in a very reasonable way retrieve a description that you can then just with humans fine-tune, or with your human expertise fine-tune ultimately.
Thank you. And lots of data from lots of sources, all coming into one harmonized system. Data governance has obviously got to be a big thought for organizations, data governance, compliance, especially in regulated industries like finance, healthcare, that kind of thing. How does Business Data Cloud support that data governance?
Yeah. This is a large topic as well, and a super important topic, and also a topic that continuously evolves with also the evolving requirements that we see around it. There are multiple angles to this. One is we have the catalog available as part of Business Data Cloud, which is exactly this the foundation for providing the governance, as you mentioned, right? So where, for example, we heavily invested already into lineage down to the column level of the data, and where does the data come from, to really be able to track it. And also then, obviously, as part of the cockpit, which I shared earlier, be able then to also at a granular level steer where you can basically get access to that data and where it's being used, and also keep track of this. We also have an integration and partnership as part of the open data ecosystem partnerships with Collibra, as an example, because we are fully aware and conscious of the fact that there are just very advanced cataloging solutions out at the market, and many of our customers have deployed them. And for those customers, it's important to also then get their SAP data estate integrated in those solutions, where we also have teamed up between the product and engineering teams between Collibra and SAP in order to make this integration happen and also further expand it.
Thank you. And just so, DataSphere was another recent product, obviously been around longer than Business Data Cloud, but not that long, really. What's the difference between DataSphere and Business Data Cloud?
Yeah, maybe I should have even mentioned this earlier, Craig. Very sorry that we just get to this at the basically in course of this conversation here. Now, ultimately, what's first of all very important to mention is DataSphere is there and continues to remain there and continues to be part of Business Data Cloud. This is important, right? So what we had basically started off with the investment and launch of DataSphere resonated very well with customers, and ultimately Business Data Cloud is just an expansion of this and the next step. So if you think about everything that DataSphere provides today in terms of rich connectivity, SAP integration, self-service abilities for modeling, ecosystem integration. This continues to be part of Business Data Cloud, and at the same time, Business Data Cloud has the extension around the ability to onboard SAP managed data products, the ability to drive intelligent applications, the ability to engage in the zero copy sharing with Databricks and having this Databricks integration and the likes, which means that for now, DataSphere continues to remain a separate product for existing customers who are on that track and on that journey right now. And we have bi-weekly innovation cycles, so bi-weekly releases that we ship, and this continues. And at the same time, customers will have the opportunity very soon to so-called rewire their existing tenants, which is, and this is important to mention, not a migration, but this is really a rewiring, where you basically have to undergo a bit of a contractual amendment, respectively restructuring, to make sure that it is capturing accurately the expanded umbrella that we have of BDC with all the features, but then can take forward your DataSphere tenant basically with everything that you have done, so as part of Business Data Cloud, and enjoy the additional benefits by data products, by intelligent applications and the likes.
So, I'll ask this quite bluntly, and I apologize in advance. So if a customer's invested in DataSphere, have they wasted the money?
Definitely not. Definitely not. They have built and provided now already a foundation, and most likely also then accumulated a wealth of experience, basically, in a solution that just further evolves and is just further extended. So everything that they have invested into will remain, and they will have new opportunities with our advancing capabilities around SAP managed data products that are available, intelligent applications and the likes, to basically even expand and further build on that investment and the value that they generated.
Thank you. And so thinking about that, and you mentioned the evolution there. So do customers actually need both products, or will they evolve and in effect it will be Business Data Cloud that they will need?
I would really say Business Data Cloud is the umbrella, right? So it's not a coexistence, but it's a merging that has already happened, and where you can then basically also engage in the rewiring and becoming part of this bigger thing once available and you are ready as well.
Thank you. So, looking at our members in the UK and Ireland, SAP customers, what should they be doing now, perhaps, to prepare for or get started with Business Data Cloud?
Yeah, there are plenty of different options, right? The topic is super broad. It's hard to also cover it as part of this one episode of the podcast. And you would most likely have already understood that there are multiple angles from which you can typically approach it. Yeah? So either you are interested in one very tangible use case that's, for example, enabled by an intelligent application, or we would rather approach it from the angle of how do I bring forward and modernize my business warehouse or BW estate, or how do I drive better interoperability with, for example, Databricks. Yeah? And depending on what you're looking at, there are multiple starting points or multiple journeys. for an initial start, what I would really recommend, and we have invested a lot into providing the respective assets to familiarize yourself, just start with sap.com/BDC, right, which is the overall landing page and which directs you to all sorts of different assets. And there are also plenty of opportunities available if you speak with your respective SAP liaison to engage in, for example, discussions with the corresponding experts in your market unit, to also be able to run workshops and identify then in those workshops the potential starting points and the potential value levers that would apply in your specific situation.
Thank you. And so, looking forward now, what's on the product roadmap for Business Data Cloud, and I suppose what can users expect in the next maybe 12 to 18 months?
It's really a big roadmap. you can also find it online and look it up in case that you're interested in any of the specifics. But let's maybe touch on the key highlights that we would really see. Yeah? What I think is really massive, and this is also a massive undertaking, is the further build out of SAP managed data products and intelligent applications. With Business Data Cloud, we have the foundation that really powers all sorts of different scenarios on top of this. And if you think about how broad also the SAP portfolio is and how massive the status of different applications that we provide, you can envision that basically arriving at a near to complete coverage of data products is something that will result then in hundreds of data products being available throughout the various LOBs. And this is an endeavor which we had really taken up already with full force as part of an acceleration program and continue to double down on. And equally so, stay tuned, and you have seen most likely the announcements at Sapphire. The next big event is TechEd around intelligent applications that will reside on this. And next to this, for sure, it's about table stakes or how can I say foundations, right? To bring this further, like for example availability across all different data centers, the further expansion of the AI scenarios that we mentioned as well.
Hagen, thank you very much. Is there anything we haven't covered that you would perhaps like to add?
Most likely 1,000 things, but now nothing so super specific that comes to mind now that we should add.
Oh, well, Hagen, thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights. I've really enjoyed speaking to you this morning.
Thank you. Same here, Craig. Really a pleasure.
Wonderful. And thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it valuable. Please make sure you do subscribe so you don't miss any of our future episodes. And until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and get your data right to avoid what Hagen called AI hallucinations.